902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, my name is Scott Jors. I'm calling in regards to case number 2025-21595 that was apparently assigned to Jessica Welke, or assigned to Shelley Muse. I have not heard back from RCMP in quite some time now. It's been 100 since March 13, 2025. I haven't heard back from Shelley Muse in 132 days. Since I've heard back from Kurt Wallace, it's been 91 days. Since I've heard back from Corporal Atwell of RCMP Musquodoboit Harbor, he said he'd contact me in 5 days. It's been 286 days. And since I've heard from anything from Jessica Welke, since I've reported this issue and the abuse, it's been 1,057 days. All right, so I had reported, made several calls to this number previously. I haven't received anything back. Kurt Wallace called me, didn't identify himself, didn't provide any contact information for me to contact him. So now I'm left with just making these recordings, speaking at RCMP, reporting this very serious abuse. Now, the content of this call is going to be regarding a letter that I received the 6th of June, 2025. This was a response to the CRCC complaint that I had made regarding Jessica Welke back in March 27, 2023. So if you note the time difference in between, it was 800 days that the case was open with CRCC. And what I'm going to do in this call is I'm going to compare that to the response of Shelley Muse, Kurt Wallace, and what RCMP are doing right now. The response now, what you'll have to note is back in August and September and October of last year, 2024, I would also be speaking with CRCC in regards to this case. I'm really upset about why they didn't mention the sexual assault or any of the evidence. And so they sent me a bunch of questions and said that they would have Sergeant Trevor Allen contact me. None of this ever occurred. So what I did was, that was about 252 days ago. So I had submitted this detailed complaint to CRCC on May 10th, 2025, and it would have refuted everything you're about to hear. So CRCC had detailed complaints on record before everything you're about to hear here. So I received this response back, and I'd already been engaging CRCC. They knew that these police officers were lying about this, not including this. So then I received this response back. I'm sitting in my house. I receive a letter from Canada Post, and it's from Cory Bushell, an inspector with RCMP, regarding this case with CRCC. Now, the officers involved in this case are Cory Bushell, inspector. They are Sergeant Jeff Stevens, Sergeant Trevor Allen, and Ignatius Hall, and I believe a Joe Frazier. These will be people from RCMP. In regards to this, now, the letter is exactly what you would have expected to be. They completely lied, slandered, defamed me, and just completely retaliated. Nobody contacted me at all. And if you actually go back and look at the videos I was creating and the evidence I was submitting, I directly said that Corporal or Sergeant Jeff Stevens didn't contact me. He said that if I don't just meet with him in a room, this never happened. I asked him to please make digital submissions. I went over some of the evidence on the phone with him, and he knew this implicated some of his commanding officers. So I kept making submissions to CRCC, whatever. So I get this response back here. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to go through this like kind of step by step. And I have to note that in this one is going to be a little bit long, and I'm going to have to release some of my medical information to be able to deal with this appropriately. So I want everybody to know that I'm really uncomfortable doing this, but RCMP has left me no other choice. All right, so this introduction to this video is going to be up here soon because it's going to cut me off because it only allows 5 minutes at a time according to this number. So the next one, we're going to get into the actual submission, okay? So here we go.
902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hey there, it's Scott Jors calling back again. This is the second part of the video. My contact number is 902-220-9106. This part of the video here is where we go through this actual detailed response. I believe it's like 8 or 9 pages long from Inspector Cory Bushell from RCMP and Sergeant Trevor Allen. So now this was regarding case that I had raised regarding the conduct of RCMP, ranging from August 2022 and before, up until the present. So I would have put this in on March 27, 2023. So here they are getting back to me almost 800 days later. So the first thing we're going to look at here is that, we already covered that I made all these other submissions. There's a CSIS case number in regards to this, attachment 5566, as well as this open case with the Special Victims Unit. So what we're going to do first is go over the allegations. It says, clarification on allegation number 1, neglect of duty. Now, they never did actually go down this path. I literally provided all this detailed evidence to CRCC, audio recordings. There's a whole website dedicated to this, of the abuse by these officers, more specifically Jessica Welke. I provided significant evidence. Nowhere's in any of this report will you find even a single piece of evidence that I provided. You will see them slandering and defaming me continuously, carrying on this disgusting behavior, just like Jessica Welke. And then you'll see what they tried to rely on. The same thing Jessica Welke tried to rely on, their fraud of these other officers. It's very blatant. But the other one is a very strange one, and I'm not sure where they got this from, and it's just really strange. It says, clarification on allegation number 2, sexual orientation and bias. I have never once stated that Jessica Welke, Chad Sanford, or any of these officers have ever said anything directly about me being a gay man or anything about that. Never, not once. And they went in this report and tried to claim that I'm saying they said this about me being gay and all this different stuff. It never happened. And then you will see inside the report, those same officers are like, that didn't happen. Nobody except these people claim that that happened. And there's no, all my submissions were done in writing, so I don't understand where they would even get something like this, right? They just completely fabricated it. It's so fucking bizarre. But anyways, so what we need to do is first state what happened here. So first it was assigned to Sergeant Jeff Stevens, right? And I talked to him. I told him about my phone's GPS location being set to 9330, highway number 7, Stillwater, Nova Scotia. Told him about a website being available. Told him about all the evidence being available, the audio recordings, where I can hear somebody saying good in the background, threatening me. I stated that I was a technical expert, all of this different stuff. And then it states that he tried to document several accounts to meet with me, and I refused. That is absolutely, completely false. I had stated that to Jeff that, look at all the abuse I'm reporting by these police officers. They've retaliated all these different times. No lawyer would tell me to go sit in a room with you. What I want to do is make digital submissions and make my submission on the phone. That way we can both have a record of what's actually going on here. That's right. Instead, he said that I refused to meet with him, which is completely false, because you will see me continuously then email CRCC submitting evidence, he's saying that it never happened unless I meet with him. I want to make digital submission. I want this properly on the record. He just completely lied about it, and then said I didn't agree to sign some public form or something. He never even mentioned a form or anything like that. He just completely fabricated, because he knew this implicated Mike Duhem, Dennis Daly, and he knew there was a sexual assault. He knew there was serious abuse, serious evidence listed. So he needed to create some sort of story where he was a victim and hero, or he would have to explain his inaction here. So you'll see what they went about doing, okay? Now, you further stated that on May 24, 2023, you said you received a call from Corporal Welke, who told you that if you ever mentioned J.D. Irving, they would have you arrested and drugged. You claim this matched her past actions of calling you retarded, and another officer had to stop her from using that language. I never said anything like that. Remember, all my stuff is in written submission, everybody. I'm actually going to play a clip from that call, and I released this call right away, the full thing. I've never said anything like that. I literally provided the full call, and you'll hear how respectful and dignified I am on the phone with Jessica. That is not at the question of this. What you will hear is when I list the abuse, somebody says good in the background. Listen. And they told me, Jessica, that if I even mention J.D. Irving, they will have me fucking arrested and pumped full of drugs. That's right. You can go listen to the full call. It was released the same day that it happened. My aunt's also on the call, right? Like, I was being threatened by these officers. I asked her to press charges, which we're going to go through later. So now we're going to have to end the call, because we're going to have to break this up into another section and go to the next piece, okay?
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message. 9020013 is not available. Votre appel a été transféré à un système de traitement de la voix. 902220201 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, it's Scott George calling again. This is the third call for the video series. My phone number is 902-220-9106. I'm going to pick up where I left off. So, the next point regarding the thing about Jessica Welke. So, me and Jessica Welke had met in a room March 29, 2023 and April 1st, 2023. If you actually check some of the documentation submitted to her at the bottom, I asked if she's actually going to watch a video about Emic and these topics because she knew well about it. I told her about it, how it matches, the land contracts match the place where my phone's GPS location was set and stuff. She knows all about this. You can see it pop up here on the screen. So anyways, what they then go on to say in this report is that the investigation was reassigned to Sergeant Allen based on a potential conflict of interest for Sergeant Stevens. As per the above noted CRCC submission on January 4, 2024, in his report, Sergeant Allen documented that you refused to meet with Sergeant Stevens. Never occurred. That's a lie. Stevens, you stating that you lost trust in the police. Several attempts were made to meet with you to acknowledge the public complaint and provide a detailed statement. That's actually false. What you see is then, why would I keep contacting CRCC, as they stated, providing evidence? And you'll see that they'll say that I made like 20-some submissions to CRCC. I'm clearly submitting all this detailed evidence because he told me that it never happened. That's right, I'm just reacting to what he's doing. And what you'll see is if I didn't submit this evidence, everybody, there'd be no evidence of everything I'm saying right now because if I trusted these dirty cops, okay? So he just completely lied about this. Now this Trevor Allen guy, he never tried to contact me either. But we're going to cover that in a little bit more detail in here. So now they talk about when Justin Hall and Chad Sanford came to my house. Now, I would have been visited by the RCMP like August 16th, 17th. It would have been in like November and then again in December. Okay? So in this period, Jessica Welke, Justin Hall, Chad Sanford would have showed up along with another officer. And each time I would absolutely ask them very calmly to open a case. Now, they spoke with my family, even put in their own case how cool, calm, and collected I am because I was completely respectful and dignified. Okay? Now, when they say earlier about having to stop Jessica Welke from calling me retarded or whatever, she came to my house. I sat there completely calm. My family told her how calm I was, and I tried to speak to her about my phone's GPS location being set there. And when I told her about it, she went, "Don't you think that maybe you're not supposed to know?" That's right. And the other officer had to say, "This is way above our pay grade." She was trying to humiliate me, and I sat there completely calm and took it. Right, and I've got all this evidence. I'm a technical expert. That's actually what happened. But they're going to try to twist and warp it and blame me, right? Like it's a very straightforward comment. You'll see it in all my videos, but you see what the officers are trying to play here. So apparently, guys, there's like 24 Versadex entries on record now regarding me. Nothing regarding these people. All regarding this single topic. And I want you to keep that in mind here. Okay, now it says, in Ignatius Hall, an investigator with Nova Scotia Professional Responsibility Unit spoke with Corporal Welke by telephone to obtain further contextual information regarding this public complaint. At this time, Corporal Welke was in transition and relocating, transferring out of Sheet Harbor Detachment and did not have her notes with her at the time of this conversation. So she couldn't confirm dates or times. That's right. So here's what they actually did. I opened this case March 27th, 2023. So now the case gets assigned to Joe Fraser in Ignatius Hall on the 1st of June. Okay, and then it gets closed on the 6th. So these people waited 800 days to contact Jessica Welke, and they never even got a written statement from her. What they did was they went and then closed the case down, knowing they never got a written statement from Jessica Welke. They took all the slander and fraud in this to Jessica Welke, made all these false claims about me saying they said something about I'm gay, never took any of the evidence, lied about the audio recordings and what was talked about, never listed any of this whatsoever. And then went and coached Jessica Welke. Look, this big complaint's coming against you. We will lie for you. Look at us lying for you. Nobody contacted her in 800 days. There is a complaint about a violent sexual assault being made here. Right? Nobody contacted Jessica Welke. Nobody did anything about this. And this is an important part to bring up here, everybody. Not anywhere in this response from Sergeant Trevor Allen or Cory Bushell is a mention to the violent sexual assault. And that's what we're about to cover here next.
902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, everybody. This is Scott George calling again, and this is another installment in the video series that I'm making. My phone number is 902-220-9106. So, where we left off was where the officers left out the part about the violent sexual assault. Now, I have been reporting this from the very beginning. I told Jessica Welke when we met in the rooms back in March of 2023 about them touching me and how much it bothered me and everything. I told CRCC this. Now, you'll go back to August of last year, 2024, and you will see me interacting with CRCC. This guy calls me from CRCC. I explain the sexual assault and how it was left out and all of this stuff. He then says a response closing my case saying I asked for Sergeant Trevor Allen to contact me. Now, this is important. So, he didn't record the part about the sexual assault, so I had to write another letter to CRCC stating how inappropriate that was. But what you will see here is that CRCC explicitly states that they called the Public Complaint Directorate and asked Sergeant Trevor Allen to contact me. None of these officers, Cory Bushell, Ignatius Hall, Joe Frazier, not Sergeant Trevor Allen, nobody contacted me. Think about that. Think about how sick that is. Right? So you've got all these instances of this going on, these people not contacting me. I'm dealing with CRCC stating there's a violent sexual assault. They are not recording it in their record and retaliating. Okay, so now I get this manager, Paul, with CRCC. Right? He looks at just one email, sends me back 5 pages of questions. Right? So how is it that the manager at CRCC can have 5 pages of questions, but these officers not have one single question? When they have all this evidence, and they never even listed any evidence in their report, because this is what systemic fraud looks like. So anyways, I would just recently answer these questions. I would send this response in, I believe, May 10th, 2025. So that means that that was like 26 days. CRCC had to add that to the file so Sergeant Trevor Allen wouldn't slander and defame me like that. For them to contact those officers knowing all this abuse happened and they didn't contact them, didn't record it. And in fact, it's been how many days since I've been waiting for a response from CRCC? 59 days waiting for Paul. And he knows these officers lied because there's not a single reference to the sexual assault. There's not a single reference to any of the evidence that was listed. He knows not one of them contacted me, even though the CRCC themselves stated they contacted the Public Complaint Directorate, because Paul knows they're lying about this to cover up for Jessica. He knows that they called her to condition her and coach her that a complaint was coming. These officers knew exactly what they were doing. 800 days, everybody, and they never contacted me. They admitted, they said, okay, Corporal Stevens, or Sergeant Jeff Stevens is a conflict of interest, but then said, oh, he doesn't want the police to contact him. Then why am I contacting CRCC? Wouldn't you contact me as an officer to get that statement for yourself? You don't have a single question about any of this? That's right, it's just systemic fraud. You're going to see them lean on each other to commit fraud, commit fraud, commit fraud. They made sure they didn't get a written statement from Jessica because they knew that would be legally admissible in court. Okay? And CRCC now is leaning on this fraudulent response when they know these officers absolutely committed fraud, because I submitted that response on the 10th of May, 2025. I have all this evidence chain. You can see the video that I submitted to RCMP on the 3rd of May, 2025, going over much of the same evidence. So Shelley Muse, Kurt Wallace know that Sergeant Trevor Allen is lying. She knows that Cory Bushell is lying. They didn't do an investigation. This was not done in good faith, right? But guess what? Shelley Muse, Kurt Wallace are going to try to use this investigation to state that some investigation has been done, because why would Cory Bushell, Trevor Allen, or CRCC lie? That's what they're going to say, and I'm just a liar. They have no evidence of anything they're saying, and we're going to cover that here in the next video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one short, and then we're going to get into the real good part of this. We're going to get into my medical record, and we're going to get into what they're trying to lean on and what these disgusting monsters tried to do March 13, 2023. All right, get ready, everybody.
At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, it's Scott Jors calling back again, continuing my video series. My phone number is 902-220-9106. All right, everybody. Now, we need to look at what these people are trying to rely on and what they're trying to play here. They're trying to rely on the events of March 13, 2023. Now, remember, these events go back to March 2019, and I've got all of this evidence way before March 13, 2023. The Premier showing up. I've got them deleting the Emmett contracts. I got my GPS being set to this location. I've got Valent Legal reporting their hacking, multiple legal entities reporting hacking regarding them. I've got personal instances. I've got threats all of this stuff, right, before March 13th. So what we're about to talk about is Nova Scotia Health Authority had me arrested on March 13th, 2023, after I filed complaint at Halifax Regional Police. Now, inside of this report received by Cory Bushell and Trevor Allen, they obviously went right for that and stated that I was psychotic or I was delusional and I did something. However, they have not provided a single note of it, anything that was said. What they stated was that day that I threatened Nova Scotia Health Authority employees and I did something and said that I was going to go there. I never threatened anybody. There is a single email thread with about 225 email addresses on it. And they were all emailed. Nobody was individually emailed. No threats were made. And I certainly never said I was going to Nova Scotia Health Authority. But they fabricated that. They fabricated this whole idea about it to retaliate, to cover up for all that evidence that existed. Right? So, here's what actually happened. I gave fair warning the night before that I was going to be going down to CSIS and HRP, and I'm going to be filing criminal complaints regarding what happened August 2nd, 2022, about the severe abuse from Nova Scotia Health Authority and Halifax Regional Police. And you will go back and see, I provided it all on the same email thread. There's detailed records of the abuse there. And me asking to please deal with this. Right? So nobody came forward. So I was going to go down to the police. So I was being responsible. I notified everybody, look, here's where I will be. Obviously, I'm upset about this. Right? But I'm going to go file complaints. I'm going to go exercise my basic rights. So I get up in the morning and I go down. I park, I believe, on Queen Street in Halifax. I let my family, everybody know, completely calm, respectful. I hugged my aunt and stuff before I went. Was like, they're probably going to retaliate, but there's nothing that I can do. I'm not backing down. So I get in the city and I take a sign with me and I walk with it. Now, you're going to say, oh, you did something, Scott, to instigate. It said that J.D. Irving, Post Media, and HRP framed and terrorized me. Framed and tortured me. I walked from Queen Street to the CSIS building. I went in. They were waiting. I provided evidence, just like I said in my email. Then I went down to Halifax Regional Police. I didn't loiter. I didn't cause any problems. I went in there and I sat in there for almost like a half an hour. A little bit more. Did nothing. I engaged with nobody. A man appears to be Dean Simmons came out, said, hi, how are you doing? I said, good, thank you. How are you? He said, good. And then he said, asked everybody how they were doing and then left. No issues with HRP whatsoever. I then leave, immediately cause no problems. Go back into my car, right? And here's what you'll see. Well, I have some great news. The police didn't kill me this time, or, torture me, or falsely arrest me, or anything like that. So, that's a positive. I actually get to go home and see my dog tonight. So, yeah, small things, right? That was posted to Snapchat. Do you see somebody manic, irrational, angry, upset, or anything like that? Absolutely not. And you'll see every record will confirm this. So, what I would do then is just walk down the street, down Barrington Street with my sign. I engaged with nobody. I stopped and talked with nobody. I yelled at nobody. I said nothing. I only responded if somebody asked me something and I didn't hesitate or didn't stand around and I didn't loiter. Right? So I didn't engage with anybody. I didn't bother anybody. Everything was completely in context and I have a right to walk down the road with a sign. All right? So here's what happened next. Now we need to end this so we can get into the good part.
At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, Scott Yours again, and this is continuing the video series for today. My phone number is 902-220-9106. Now, we left off March 13th, 2023, when I would be walking down the road with my sign after filing these complaints and stuff. So, I would then get in my car and be ready to go back to the country, and I would receive a call. So this was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so well after all these events, right? You'll see I said in the morning I was going to HRP in these places, so these people could have stopped me before I went there. If they were concerned about any issues happening at these places, they could have stopped me well in advance. You'll see the email was before that, right? So I get a call now from Jessica Welke, and somebody else was in the vehicle. I believe it was Chad Sanford with her. And she's stating that, first off, they went to my aunt's house. And now she's calling me, saying, Scott, where are you? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, we got a call from Nova Scotia Health Authority. You're arrestable under IPTA. She's like, we need to know your location because you're going to be arrested. I said, Jessica, why would you do that? Like, She's like, Scott, she's like, I called 3 different departments to ask them why they're making me do this. They said it came from a Nova Scotia Health Authority director. I have no other choice. She's like, look, she's like, if they lock you up, I promise I will drive to wherever you are and I will take a statement. And she's like, she's like, I don't know why they're making me do this. I said, Jessica, because you did nothing. They watched you lie about this and not do anything. So of course they're going to retaliate and abuse me now because now they know you're culpable for that. So I immediately provide my address, where I'm at, Cole Harbour, RCMP. They show up, RCMP shows up, ask them how calm I am. They noted it multiple times in their records. When we actually got to the hospital, they said, I don't know what you think's wrong with this guy, but he's completely calm and respectful and dignified. And I was, and you will see every record, every police record made that was the case. So here I am now arrested in the back of a car. So RCMP hunted me down and said that I'm some mental health threat, and now I'm sitting in the back of an RCMP vehicle. They didn't talk about Dr. Holmes and what she did, the recording, or any of the evidence. I'm like screwed right now.
You want your window down?
It doesn't matter what I do, they're gonna... Anyways, I tried, everyone. There you go. Completely calm, even when the police are lying, terrorizing me in the back of a car. I'm completely rational, completely calm. Now watch this. I read their screen at the time. Okay? This was an execution. Okay? They had already had a determination about my state, lied to the police, said that I was delusional and all of this stuff. Their screen said I'm sending emails that are increasingly delusional.
Is it, actually...
That's right, it's that bad. Like, they're not, they're full technical audits, and these people are lying, and they're going to torture me right now. I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm screwed. I'm screwed. It doesn't. That's right. So they had already executed me. They already made a determination that I was guilty before I was ever taken in there. But inside this report, everybody, you will see that, oh, they didn't do that. They took you in there to make some sort of determination. No, they didn't. This was an execution from the beginning. And these officers knew it, and these Nova Scotia Health Authority staff knew it. So, everybody, at this stage, the police would then take me to the hospital. Okay? So I would be transferred into 2 officers from Halifax Regional Police, but the portion that's with Nova Scotia Health Authority. And immediately, you could hear the police telling them, this guy's completely okay, he caused no problems whatsoever. Just completely. Right? Because I was. You see by the videos and everything. So, they take me in, and I'm sitting with these 2 officers, and at first, I get taken into a room with a younger male representative from Nova Scotia Health Authority. Now, before we get into that part of it, we really need to end the call, okay? So we're getting close to the end of this.
902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hey everybody, Scott George here again, leaving another voicemail in the video series that we're creating today. Alright, so last we left off, Nova Scotia Health Authority Director had me arrested. And so now I'm going into the room with this younger male. So I'm being taken in, I ask for a lawyer, state that I'm being denied my rights. And they say that you have to talk about this. I state, if you're going to force me to talk about this, then it has to be based on facts and evidence. So I said, then I have to admit my bias, right? And then just give a statement about my background and my technical experience, 18 years as a technical analyst and programmer, right? I have significant experience. And stated then that, you know, I asked basic question, like, given I'm talking about, you know, serious events, quantified events, who do I take this to if not the police? Right, and you were met with just silence and questions. So anyways, what I did was I started to say about my, the bias and everything. And I had said that I had reported this abuse about my book bag and the sexual assault. And I told them that I also had audio recordings of them lying and fabricating records in the abuse. And then once the Kristen Home found out there was an audio recording, she knew she was in a lot of trouble. The young guy stopped and said, "Are you recording right now?" And I said, "Maybe." He's like, "I think we need to end this right here." That's right. They then took me out in the hallway. So I'm sitting there completely calm, and 2 people come over and approach me. Now, one of these people appears to be Hana Weimer and another NSHA staff member. They come over and say, "You're not allowed to record." And I said, "I am allowed to audio record." I said there might be an issue with me recording out here around all these people. right? Because there's no privacy, but your one-on-ones, you absolutely are able to record. I talked about just the general provision in the criminal code and about the one-party consent law. I then asked them, can you please provide your policy on this? Hana Marie Weimer herself stated, we do not have a policy. So I am being denied a policy on my privacy rights, a policy on my general rights in this situation. I'm being denied a lawyer by the same people who abused me, had me sexually assaulted, and fabricated all these records, and are now having me arrested after I filed legitimate complaints with the police. So now they're threatening me. And she said, if you try to record, we will have somebody physically remove that from you. So I didn't try to record in any type of public area. They all know this, right? They all just lied about this. So I would be sitting there with this officer for some time, so I talked to him. Now, obviously, he's completely biased. And I asked him, can I show you something? So I showed him the land contracts regarding 9330, Stillwater, Nova Scotia. I was like, look, this is pretty compelling evidence. He's like, oh my God, you have that on your phone? I'm like, yeah, and this is just some of it. He's like, I can't verify if that's real or not. I'm like, no, that's a good point, right? But who should be looking into that if not the police? He's like, that's got to go to the police. I'm like, exactly. He's like, why do you think they're going to lock you up, Scott? I was like, because they already executed me. Hana Marie Weimer knows that she would have to testify against these directors in Nova Scotia Health Authority. This is an execution, right? They're facing multi-million-dollar litigation. They're keeping me here in handcuffs. They just had me arrested after filing a police complaint. That's right, so if she doesn't follow through, she's going to have to testify against these directors and everybody else, so it doesn't matter how this goes. That's why she's denying my right to record, not allowing me to have a lawyer. So anyways, me and this guy would sit there. He was a nice guy. He talked generally about his life. So I would now have to go into the room with Hana Marie Weimer, and this is going to be really important. So I'm sitting there completely calm. Every record will state it. You'll see even Hana Marie Weimer's record state how calm I was. Every single report, including HRP's report of the false arrest, talks about how calm I was. There's video evidence of it, their own video evidence. Completely calm and respectful, have caused no problems, never caused a problem at Nova Scotia Health Authority, have no past history of mental health issues, have no past history with violence or threats or anything like this. So now they're sitting there trying to claim that I made these threats and stuff. They have no evidence of it. You're about to see what happens next when I go into the room with Hana Marie Weimer.
902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, Scott Yours again, and this is another continuation of the video series. My phone number is 902-220-9106. Now, what we're at now is where I was taken into the room with Hana Marie Weimer, who had already denied my rights to a lawyer, denied my rights to audio record. She knew very well what I was requesting of her. She knew the conditions, right? She knew I just filed a complaint, police complaint. She knew there were serious, quantified complaints against Nova Scotia Health Authority here. So now I'm taken into a room with her. I asked Hana, please, since, I filed these complaints, I was really kind and calm. I'd really like to audio record. You're denying me a lawyer. You just had me falsely arrested off the street. Can I please audio record so we have an objective record of this? She said no, and if you try to, I will have these men physically remove this from you. And if you don't talk about this, you're just being admitted. That's right, so if I don't talk about this, I'm just going to be physically confined for not wanting to talk about a serious criminal issue when you just made complaints with the police. So she's forcing me, under threat of severe violence, to now speak about this when she doesn't have any tools, any capability to be able to assess the information. She knows the bias against her. She knows what Nova Scotia Health Authority is being accused of. So again, I state my general bias, I state my background, I state, Hana, you realize that admission is based on facts and evidence. So I admitted my bias, stated about the wolf in the neural network. I have all these data points, right? I said it's all chronologically ordered. I am a technical expert. So, and I stated, here's the events with my GPS location. It was set there. Here's the breakdown of it. Here's what EMIC is. I said, here's the premier showing up the morning that my mother died. Here's about Valent Legal and these parties stating that they were hacked, right? I said, look, I can present to you the evidence and go through this, but Hana, who should be looking at this if not the police, right? And then I said about the audio recordings. I told her about the sexual assault. I told her about my book bag and the serious issues of Nova Scotia Health Authority. Think about this. I'm brought in there because of my issues apparently with Nova Scotia Health Authority, but Hana Marie Weimer didn't ask at a single stage about my complaints against Nova Scotia Health Authority, and you won't see any type of clarification in her record. A violent sexual assault. Hana Marie Weimer knew that serious complaints were being made. That's why she denied my rights to the audio recording, so she could claim plausible deniability. What's even worse is I'm going to let this pop up on the screen because you need to see this record from Hana and what she tried to do. I want to read what triage did. PT here under section 14 with mobile crisis team. PT has been sending vague threatening emails to government officials and NSHA employees with some threats to doctors. Never occurred. It's complete fucking false. There's one email thread. There are literally 225 email addresses on there. There's nothing vague about it. It was detailed reports, including about the abuse from these individuals. Denies SIHI at present. Calm and cooperative and triage. Good eye contact. Good effect. Cuffed at present. Delusional disorder. So they'd already had me all delusional or whatever. It didn't matter what I said. They just knew that there were complaints against them and they had to make this go away or they were going to face serious litigation. Right? So here's what Hana Marie Weimer then goes on to wrote. Right, says he's at HRP because of concerns about a stolen wallet. It was a false arrest, a sexual assault, all of this abuse. The wallet is literally like a pinch piece off in the entire complaint. It was not about that. What Hana Marie Weimer needed to do was pull forward what they did August 2nd into this record here. So then she starts talking about Stephen McNeil and his brother, boop, boop, boop. That's a conflict of interest that HRP stated themselves are a conflict of interest. This isn't an abstract topic. That's right, so it involved these people. So it's just, delusional now or whatever. Okay. As well as Daniel Kinsella with HRP chief has filed several complaints also against NSH. So here she's admitting that I filed complaints against NSH. She doesn't mention any of these complaints, the sexual assault, any of the abuse or anything because she knows how bad that is. Feels specific dates are significant, especially personally. So think about this. If Hana Marie Weimer didn't include dates in her documents here, what would happen? She'd be reprimanded. If you went to school or into a courtroom, what would happen? If police didn't come with dates, everybody, what would happen? So I come with all this dated, ordered information. Oh my God, he thinks dates are special. Okay, let's say that's the case. Hana Marie Weimer doesn't include a specific date. You can't even go back and say, well, was it just a made-up date? Right? Scott's a technical expert with like over 400 data points in the Wolf and the Neural Network. Why don't you just list a date, Hannah? Because she knew then she'd be accountable for that and any type of evidence that was provided. What you're seeing is a delusional fraud here, everybody. States that I'm noted that I'm alert and calm. Good eye contact. Then she tries to say pressured speech. Now, here's what's important. This call's about to end, so we're going to get into what she then does next.
902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Alright, so now we're still talking about Hana Marie Weimer. Sorry, this is Scott George again. This is a continuation of my video series. So now we're still talking about Hana Marie Weimer here. And she writes, flight of ideas, grandiose and paranoid. I'm sitting there asking for my basic rights, asking me not to talk about this. She's forcing me to, and then stating she has some sort of advanced knowledge of these facts, that it's grandiose, flight of ideas, and paranoid. Doesn't provide a single example, doesn't provide a date, doesn't provide a single statement. You know what else Hana Marie Weimer doesn't provide? A single threat that was made. Hana Marie Weimer was asked in that meeting, Hannah, what threat did I make? Can you even provide one? She actually went through and she's like, I can't. That's right. Why do you think Hana Marie Weimer didn't want me to audio record this meeting? Because she knew exactly what she was doing. And you know what she said was the reason? It was for her privacy. I'm having my life destroyed. She's destroying it, taking my rights and dignity, taking away my right to be able to defend myself. And she just doesn't want to be audio recorded. She's a victim because somebody wanted an objective record. What would the issue be with an objective record, everybody? Doesn't matter. So, Hana Marie Weimer then stops me and stands up and says, I'm going to stop you there. Obviously, you're making this all up. I calmly sat there. I said, Hannah, I understand this may be complicated and it might be complex, but I am a technical expert. So do you maybe have a question to clarify so that maybe I can clarify you and we can have a discussion? She said, no. She said, I'm going to go get a second opinion and come up with a plan for you. She, right, doesn't have a question for me. All this evidence exists. I'm a technical expert. I'm just making this all up. Hana Marie Weimer can't address the technical stuff. She's now stating that she has special knowledge and it's all just made up. I'm just guilty, because she knew that she would have to testify against these people. So here's what happens. She then leaves, comes, and then that cop that I was sitting with that whole time and had a relationship with came in, like, talking, and like, it was really nice conversation. And then Hannah Marie Weimer comes back, and he asked me, he's like, why do you think they're going to admit you? Because, like, she knows that they're in a lot of trouble. They just denied my rights and everything. And she even denied me the right to record in a lawyer. So then she comes back, and he says, okay, well, I'll leave. I was like, actually, can you just stay for this? I want you to hear what's going to happen. He said, okay. Hannah Marie Weimer says, yeah, they agreed, we should just admit you. So she took her fraudulent record to this person and said, look, they believed my fraud, my non-objective record. She didn't tell them about me asking for a lawyer to audio record or the abuse or the sexual assault. She took them her fraudulent record, which was her plan, and said, look, they agreed with my fraud. She lied to them and said they believed me. So the officer was so concerned, he literally said, I looked at him and said, I told you so. And he looked at her and said, I need to speak to you outside for a minute. Any person watching that would have serious concerns about what happened. I'm sitting there with all this evidence on my phone, completely cool, calm, and collected. What did I do? Hannah Marie Weimer executed me because she knew she made mistakes. She knew she'd have to testify against these people, including that director. And how does that work for her career? It doesn't work very good. I want to play another video for you showing how calm I am when I'm there.
They know they're lying.
That's right, and they did know they were lying. 100%. Hannah acted with malice. All right, so then I'm now admitted. Okay? No due process, rights completely stripped. She doesn't record that I asked for a lawyer. Hannah Marie Weimer doesn't even record that I asked for it to be audio recorded, that I admitted my bias, that I asked her basic questions like, who do I take this to if not the police? I told her about the premier showing up the morning my mother died, that there was break-and-enters reported at my house by a third parties the same morning, and asked her who I take this to. But she said, I'm just making it all up, so it doesn't matter. I'm just making it all up. Do you hear how violent and delusional that is and what kind of fraud that is? That's right, I'm just making it up because it fits her violent, delusional psychosis where Hannah Marie Weimer is some victim and hero, and she want to believe, she's going to pretend this was all done to get her, I lied to get her, and everything. All right, everybody, so now we need to cut this off one more time and get into the next part of it.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice messaging system. 902220013 is not available. Votre appel a été transféré à un système de traitement de la voix. 90222020113 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hey there, Scott George calling again. My contact number is 902-220-9106. I'm continuing the video series. All right, so Nancy Murphy, Hannah Marie Weimer just admitted me, right? So now I'm left to stay in this room. So it should be noted. No, we'll just do this part first. So now I'm left to stay in this little room. It's very early in the freaking morning, right? No rights, no dignity.
So on top of like not allowing me to record anything, telling me I don't have the right to, this is the bed I get this little sheet and this to lay in. That's right. So they can record me while I just lay in here. That's right, I'm an animal. I don't have rights.
That's right. Does that seem like somebody who's manic or irrational? And here they are recording me. That's right, she has no problem doing that, knowing that a police complaint was made as she's terrorizing me, torturing me. But how dare I want to record my medical record so I have an objective record. But here she puts me in a room with 2 cameras recording, knowing the serious complaints against Nova Scotia Health Authority and the police. So I would sit in here. So I was in custody in this room over 24 hours before they transferred me to a facility, and they are supposed to do it within 24 hours of the arrest. They didn't actually do that. So anyways, the next day I'd be in there, and some woman would come to try to talk to me and say, oh, so you were protesting outside Halifax Regional Police. I was never protesting. There is no note, anything from Halifax Regional Police stating that. They just made up that I was protesting. Never happened. Never occurred. They just made it up. So then 2 members of my family came to contact me. The front desk gave them a very hard time and wouldn't let them talk to me. Tried to tell them that I checked myself in. My family members would not accept it. They were finally allowed to come back and speak with me. The first thing they did, never spoke to me before this, just knew that I was locked up. Came in and said, Scott, they're recording you. Why are they got you in a room with cameras going? They're like, what's going on? She refused to shut the door. She's like, they're telling us you checked yourself in. That's right. And as they came in, another man came in and stood by the other door in the other room. And they're like, why is he standing in there? And I'm like, I don't know. Make up your own decision. Make up your own mind. They were really concerned. Me and them hadn't talked for like 5, 6, 7 years. Like, it's been a long time, right? But they never known me to do anything or anything like that, right? So they'd come in to talk to me. Immediately after they left, and in the middle of a serious storm, like it was snowing, it was bad in different areas, they then sent me 12 hours away to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. That to their token black psychologist, John Ogentude. So none of my family could come visit me. They took my phone and stuff away, so I'd have no way to contact anybody, any objective record. That's right. Shipped me 12 hours away from friends or family. I had no clothes. I'd have to wash my underwear and clothes in a sink. I then had to go to a thrift bucket to take out clothes that were too big for me. I looked like a giant fucking flying squirrel. Where this guy then goes on about his religious delusional psychosis, how he believes in God and all this different stuff. And I said, please, can we not talk about any of this? This cases with the police, because that same morning I called Jessica Welke and gave her the details again about the complaint, told her that, like, look, they had me arrested. You said you were going to come take a detailed complaint. I gave her the address, everything again, where my GPS was set, said about the premier showing up, said about valent legals, like, Jessica, this is really serious. Guess who never come to contact me, everybody? That's right, because she benefits from this. So now these officers are using this exact same record that Jessica Welke is trying to use, and she knows it's completely fraudulent. It was completely fabricated by my abusers, the sex offenders and frauds who knew they were facing multi-million-dollar litigation. You will see Sergeant Trevor Allen, Cory Bushell, inside this report state that I made these threats. They then say that this Brenda Smith recorded that he made some vague threats. Vague threats, that's right. So they're already saying, look, it's nothing direct, but we're just trying to interpret it that way. Then you're asking RCMP to provide these threats. They can't, because none exist, and there are 225 people on that list, including 16 addresses from CBC. You will see there are no lists. There are no threats to any of these people, and I definitely didn't individually email any of these people. I provided my records to CSIS for that matter, so they know RCMP is lying. They know CRCC is absolutely lying. All right, so now we're going to get into the final bit of this here.
902202013 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi everybody, Scott George here again. My phone number is 902-220-9106. It's another installment in the video series that I'm creating here. So, everybody, RCMP cannot provide a single instance of a threat, but you're going to see something else that they did. They stated that RCMP came here in August, November, December. It was like December 2022 because, apparently I made some threats towards Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau. No, I didn't. There's a whole bunch of people in the same email thread. I never threatened any of these people at all in any way. I don't know anything about them, nor will you find any detailed records about them in any of my work. Now, what you will see, though, everybody, is I sent an email at the same time saying, look, they're deleting the EMIC contracts from the website. So my phone's GPS location was set to 9330 Highway number 7, Stillwater, Nova Scotia. You check the land registration events, they match this contracts with EMIC, who were working in Nova Scotia at the time and engaging in psychological warfare, and there's this whole side thing about it. So basically they were setting my GPS location somewhere reasonably to frame me, right? And I had all this detail out saying, look, RCMP, they're deleting these EMIC contracts, right? How doesn't RCMP see that piece of evidence but these made-up threats? That's right, because these higher-up officers were lying to the lower-down officers, Justin Hall, Chad Sanford, Jessica Welke, to get them to come here and act with their prejudice and bias. Take a look at those land transfers, right? So not only was I saying they were deleted at the same time and then sending the police here to threaten me, look at the dates on the contracts. July 5th, 2019, the same day Dan Kinsella. was signed in as sworn in as the chief of police. Note my complaint, August 2nd, 2022, was with Dan Kinsella. I said that he's either being framed and he wants to know about this, or he was actively complicit, complacent, compliant in these issues, including the theft of my property. Right? So now you can see that they deleted these contracts. Now, is that HRP was performing a historic vote of confidence in that very man, in which over 84% of those police voted, 96.3 or 6%, voted no confidence. So imagine had they seen that evidence linking him now to this address on top of that. That's why these people deleted it. And they kept sending the police here, hoping they would work off their prejudice and bias, just as Sergeant Trevor Allen and Inspector Cory Bushell are doing here. Same thing Jessica Welke tried to play. Right? So here's what you'll see, everybody. You want to know why they wanted to retaliate? Because they knew I had them. I had all these instances of hacking, my phone's GPS location, I've got the threats they made to me and my family. Now I've got them for sexual assault. Look at it. I submitted a detailed account of August 2nd, 2022 on like it was October 22nd, 2022. So Nova Scotia Health Authority knew that that detailed report was made. Tim Houston knew that that was made. By the way, I told Hana Weimer about Tim Houston showing up the morning my mother died and admitted the bias about it. But I'm just retarded, right? I'm just crazy, so. Anyway. So they knew about all of this evidence being there. Messed up where I left off. So these officers know very well what they're doing, that they're lying, and that they were lied to by these senior officers. Okay, this was a pattern of abuse. So now we jump forward. They keep sending officers here saying I'm making threats and stuff. I never did. I asked every officer, can I please open a case? Can I please open a case with RCMP stating there's been significant abuse? Right? So I then formed this letter directed at Jamie Irving in Post Media on like December 27, 2022. Right, as my mother's in the hospital, these people are sending police here to threaten me, directly asking questions about Post Media, asking questions about the war in Ukraine, asking who was going to say no to Donald Trump in regards to these Post Media relationships with Donald Trump and his goons. Right, saying which one of you is going to say no? How much money is it going to cost for you to say no? These questions. That's right, and it's sent out to all these people, so they see me asking fair, rational, decent questions at these right kinds of white. Watch what happens next. 4 days later, so on the 1st of January 2023, Jamie Irving would ascend to his throne at Post Media as executive director. 4 days later, JD Irving gets $1.6 billion. 1 day later, I get the TAA fishing events from Judy Ross and Layla Lee. That's right, so they could make me look crazy with those events. Then Tim Houston shows up at the hospital the morning Mom died, and he just has to lie about it because he has these people on record saying, I'm making grandiose claims and all of this different stuff. And he knows that because I submitted the detailed report October 22nd, 2022. So that he knows, RCMP knows, CSIS knows all this evidence was submitted. There's no record of me doing anything wrong whatsoever. Well before March 13th, 2023. So why would the Premier show up that morning? Because he had to make it look like something was done, that he was doing something, so he could control the narrative about what was actually talked about that morning. All right, guys, we got to make one more.
At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
All right, everybody, this is Scott George again, and here's another entry in the video series. So, we have Tim Houston showing up the morning my mother died because they knew all this evidence existed, and they knew all these people in Halifax and stuff could see it. So they were certainly liable. So he had to control the narrative by showing up. So he showed up, didn't say anything, didn't do anything. Neighbors reported lights in my house. Another individual associated with the family said somebody walked up to them in line at Tim Hortons and said they were from CSIS and then just walked out. Right? So you have these serious events make me look crazy. Right? So, by the 17th of February, so before March 13th, I would send out this detailed email about Tim Houston showing up, admitting my bias and everything. So all these parties, including Nova Scotia Health Authority, knew that that happened. Right? So they need to cover this all up. Tim Houston could have only known about that with the help of Nova Scotia Health Authority. So you go back to when he was elected, you see that he installed the Nova Scotia Health Authority Board of Directors himself and his personal friend, Karen Oldfield. It's a lot easier to do if you have a senior director at Nova Scotia Health Authority completely under your thumb, isn't it, everybody? That's fucking right. So here we are, March 13th. I've got all this evidence. It's all posted to this email thread. All these people are implicated. You've got Mike Duham, Dennis Daly. You've got Emick. You've got the government, JD Irving. You've got the Prime Minister. You've got all these dirty police on all these audio recordings. So what do, everybody? They need to generate something, so the police can't do it. So Nova Scotia Health Authority retaliated and fabricated false records about me making threats and all of this different stuff. Hana Marie Weimer very well knew what she was doing. She executed me. I want to read something from the Canadian Medical Protective Association website, right? In addition to your fundamental chartered rights in the way that the criminal code is written, you are allowed to record your doctor, absolutely, 100%. Hana Marie Weimer absolutely lied and left it out because she wanted to create plausible deniability in her record. Now, this is from the CMPA website. A note on physician use of smartphone recordings. Although patients can record their clinical encounters without a physician's consent, the same does not hold true for physicians. Clinicians who wish to record a clinical encounter should first obtain informed consent from the patient, and that consent discussion should be noted in the medical record. Some colleges may require the use of separate consent form for this purposes. So right there, Hana Marie Weimer was not allowed to remove my rights. She absolutely knew that. She knew what she was doing that day. She knew this was an execution. Think about this. What you'll see in the record is that they were worried I was going to go to places and cause issues. No history of that whatsoever. You just made up a concern. You falsely claimed that I said that I was going to go to Nova Scotia Health Authority. Never did. Never caused an issue in any record at Nova Scotia Health Authority. Never ever said I was ever going to go there. Right? So they have all this stuff that say that I'm making threats, they're doing all of this. Hana Marie Weimer won't let me record because they don't want an objective record about everything that's happening here. Right? Even though it's my right. And she didn't even record that I asked for it or that I asked for a lawyer. As she sits there and says, no, these other people, August 2nd, 2022, wouldn't do the same. They wouldn't lie like that. They're just heroes and victims, like Hana Marie Weimer, who can't answer a basic question, provide a specific example, then states that I can't record my own health record. Well, she creates a completely fabricated record. So then you ask Hana Marie Weimer, what mistakes did you make that day, Hannah? Nothing. She's perfect. She's a victim and hero. That's right. No investigation has been done into anything. The sexual assault, the quantified abuse. Right? None of it. So, let's sit here and let's ask Hana Marie Weimer some basic questions. Hana Marie Weimer, you said that I'm making this all up. So who do I take this to if not the police? Here they're stating in their record, Hannah, that I was protesting. I never said I was protesting. There's nothing in the HRP report that says I was protesting. So why does it state that I was protesting, Hannah? I suppose I'm just a liar here. Here's Nancy Murphy herself stating that a record of the event is incomplete. Look, right there, being formally reprimanded. Here's me showing that my book bag was absolutely given to a homeless man, sketched out on drugs, and they tried to pretend that was me. And that it got sent to the hospital before I did. Here's Douglas Grant of CPSNS stating there's absolutely no evidence of it, Hannah. I supplied it to them 5 times. I called Crystal Morgan, the investigator, CPSNS, and I kindly asked her if I could provide that. To the Privacy Commissioner of Nova Scotia, she told me no. So how is it that it's right there on the first page that my belongings arrived with the previous patients before I did, but CPSNS and Nova Scotia Health Authority have no record of it, yet it's right there on the first page? How, Hannah? How am I making that up? Now, here's all these records about the sexual assault, Hannah. I was consistent about it. I told you about it, but I'm just making that all up, right, Hannah? How about this, Hannah? Kristen Holmes states, I've got audio recordings where she fabricated the record. She said I talked about Stephen Harper and Bell Media. I never did. Nothing. You can hear it for yourself. She just made up things that we talked about. Literally, repeatedly. How do you feel that she did that and then said that I was on a tangent when she's not even recording basic evidence?
For your recording. Vous avez épuisé le 902202013 n'est pas disponible. Please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hey everybody, Scott George again. This is another entry in the video series. So, we're back to questioning Hana Marie Weimer. Hana Marie Weimer, how do you feel that my aunt begged and pleaded with her to be reasonable in the record? And then she called and abused my disabled mother who had a massive tumor in her stomach and left her alone for weeks where she fell and bruised herself up, had no idea what was going on. How do you feel about that, Hannah? That they never recorded how sick my mother was or that I was her caretaker and told me that I wasted my life doing nothing when I'm one of the most educated, smartest people on this fucking planet. You tell me. Hannah? Hannah, why would the police remove the arresting officers from those complaints from the the arresting officers from a complaint regarding a false arrest, Hannah. Here's Kristen Holm and all these people, or Jessica Welke, lying on audio recordings. You can ask Hannah Marie Weimer even the most basic questions to provide a single date, and she can't, because Hannah Marie Weimer absolutely committed fraud that day. She knew I was being executed. She knew she'd have to testify, but not if she just committed fraud and made these vague statements on the record. Now, ask Brenda Smith. You ask Trevor Allen, Cory Bushell to provide a single example of any of these threats. They're going to dig through and try to find something, yet you're going to look at all these detailed evidence of all the abuse around it. So how is it that they see these supposed threats, but not all this other evidence? It's called systemic fraud. So get this, everybody. So why this is important, what Hannah Marie Weimer did, to show you the consistent fraud from Nova Scotia Health Authority. So I'd be sitting in my house August 30th, 2023. I would be served by a bailiff 3 papers from Nova Scotia Health Authority that says I'm being trespassed from their properties, and that I was physically there, and that 2 people witnessed it and read it to me. I was nowhere near Nova Scotia Health Authority. I've never caused a problem at Nova Scotia Health Authority, never said that I was going there at all. And now they're sending me 3 pages stating that I was there and having somebody witness it. The same person filled out the entire form and even signed for the witness. I never received a phone call. Even the bailiff, like, this is weird. I don't know why they would do something like that. Why they would do this like this. Like, it's not typical how they approach this. So I tried contacting back, get no response, no response. Now that you see them stating that I made these threats and stuff on record, all I did was file a complaint against the doctors. A written complaint. There's nothing. There's no cursing. There's nothing in there. A basic complaint against Nancy Murphy and Kristen Holm. And now I'm getting trespassed, denied medical services, fraud stating that I was at these properties and I caused some sort of problem. These people can't even record a single threat that I apparently made. I asked CPSNS to please provide one of them. They won't allow me to access the file because they know Douglas Grant committed fraud and he's in a lot of trouble. Because now he can't reconcile Hannah Marie Weimer's complaint with Kristen Holm and Nancy Murphy. Right? These people can't provide anything. So guess what? 6 days later, on September 6th, 2023, Dan Kinsella resigns. By the 19th, RCMP states there will be an apology for street checks. Go look what the issue was. With Dan Kinsella, August 2nd, 2022, that's where I was falsely arrested. I had the complaints against him. Now he's here stepping down immediately after this fraud. And you go back to November 19th, 2019, you see that Jim Perrin gets transferred to J.D. Irving. Dan Kinsella states there will be an apology for street checks. I get a job. Email about a job for government. Torstar shuts down their Halifax office. Well, Torstar and Post Media are under investigation for collusion. So you can actually take that event in chunks and go back in time and keep it temporally connected. Right? So you know very well that Hannah Marie Weimer and these parties are committing fraud. Now, what do you think RCMP is going to say about me being served and trespassed? I'm just a liar. I'm just psychotic with grandiose delusions. I'm making it up. Tim Houston wasn't there. Somebody looked into this. Nobody looked into this whatsoever. I was fucking executed because I reported a violent sexual assault and that I came with all this well-organized evidence. The Wolf and the Neural Network existed on July 11, 2022. So Hannah Marie Weimer sitting there saying that large repositories of direct evidence and admitting my bias didn't exist is completely fraudulent. She had no skills to be able to assess this. So now I'm receiving these responses from CRCC and RCMP when they can't even provide a single piece of evidence of what they're saying, yet I've provided all this evidence and gave them a whole fact-checking website, all of these videos. That's right, and none of them even contacted me once, and now we're going to discuss that behavior, and we're going to finish this off.
902220213 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hey everybody, Scott Yours again. My phone number is 902-220-9106. This is another entry in the video series for today. Alright everybody, so now, we've gone over what these people did, completely committed fraud. Jessica Welke knew she was in a lot of trouble, so she knew she could retaliate. So after these recordings and stuff, she said, you know, I can have you... She knew that it was okay to call mental health services and not address the case. Okay? So, I want to play these clips for you, where I asked Jessica Welke to press charges.
I've gone over the evidence again. I'm quite confident in what occurred. And the only option that I can see at this point is I have to officially press charges.
Alright? Now, Jessica, so you hear me being calm, respectful, always was. Here's Jessica Welke lying about calling me Monday.
Okay?
So, all right, well, thank you for taking my call, and thank you for hearing me.
Of course.
Okay?
No problem, Scott. I will call you Monday.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day, and have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye. That's right, completely respectful, not causing any problems. Why would you call mental health services on somebody calling you? Right? You know why. So anyways, what I would do is then try to have to deal with this Corporal Atwell guy, okay? So Corporal Atwell would come to my house and call me a liar, laugh in my face about a violent sexual assault. I'd explain to him on the phone that CRCC absolutely lied about the sexual assault and didn't include it. Nobody's investigating this, and I've got these audio recordings, and he's come to my house and laughs in my face about a violent sexual assault. I asked him who I report this to. He doesn't know. Says he'd call me. He doesn't call me, so I had to call him. And he bullied me and harassed me on the phone. He covered up a violent sexual assault. And I want you to hear something, because you see CRCC right now. David Carroll committing fraud. Paul of CRCC, knowing these officers didn't record a violent sexual assault, knows it. And I want you to listen to Corporal Atwell. That's what I mean. I reported it, and when I reported to Civilian Review Board, the woman didn't record it, and I tried to bring it up with I brought it up with the corporal multiple times, and I have recordings, and he didn't record it either.
Okay, the civilian, I can guarantee, because the civilian people is pretty hard on us, the RCMP.
No, I'm telling
they would have created a report, and they do every time someone calls.
But I'm telling you they didn't. In this case, they didn't, sir, and I'm reporting like serious abuse towards me and my family. That's right, they just wouldn't, and he can guarantee me that here they are all doing this, everybody. All right, so I want you to listen to this this piece when I reported the sexual assault. Listen to him guarantee me that their officers would never do that. Seemingly like this is like all interesting information I was giving you, right? Like I assume that's what you were going to do.
No, sorry, I thought it was clear that the reason why I was there that day was because of the Facebook complaints made about Jessica. That was the reason.
Right, which was brought on because of these serious issues, which was also reported in the complaint, right? So when you read that there was a sexual assault, but you're like, I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with this guy being upset about this police officer. That to me is strange, right? Because anybody would know the sexual assault is exponentially worse than anything I said. Do you see? So
I'm pretty confident in our members' abilities to investigate things, but I'll have a look just to see if there's anything.
So she didn't just do it because she's a police officer? That's right. She's just a police officer. She's just innocent, so I'm just guilty. Is he saying, I guarantee you CRCC wouldn't do that? Here's the record of them doing exactly that and me contacting them. That's right, because I am just guilty. And then he went back. Corporal Atwell absolutely perjured himself and fabricated a record. Listen to him bullying me.
Are you going to answer when I call?
Yeah, I'm going.
I've been trying to call you since you called back.
You should have heard his demeaning, harassing tone with that. I picked up every time that I could. We don't get service out here. We're in a very low coverage area. I'd have to stay right in my house to get coverage, right by my cell repeater. So he also, just like Jessica Welke says, I'll call you Monday. Okay.
And if I don't reach you today, then I'll try again on Monday. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day. Bye. And then absolutely lied about it. All right? So you got this guy here now admitting the fraud with, or stating, I guarantee you CRCC wouldn't do this, as he himself is not recording the violent sexual assault, as he himself is retaliating, right? Knows that these audio recordings of Jessica Welke exist, and here he is retaliating against me. And why this is important, because Shelley Muse tried to use the record of Corporal Atwell. So what we're about to do, everybody, so now we've got these played, I have everything on record, we're going to finish this up in one more call.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice messaging system. 902202013 is not available. Votre appel a été transféré à un système de traitement de la voix. 902220201 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, this is Scott George again, creating another entry in the video series. My phone number is 902-220-9106. Alright everybody, so I can show you that Jessica Welke absolutely lied, they completely lied. I can show you HRP completely lied. I can show you audio recordings of the serious abuse of Nova Scotia Health Authority. I can show you how Shelley Muse hasn't contacted me, what, in over like 130 days? Right, Kurt Wallace at 60 some, what are we at here? 91 days since Kurt Wallace has tried to contact me. Right? So I can show you that all these parties are lying. Consistently, I can give you audio recordings of them threatening me. I can show you all this evidence. Right? A whole website dedicated to it where you can jump through the dates. Jeff Stevens could have gone there. Cory Bushell could have gone there. Trevor Allen could have gone there. Right? Isn't it something that all these people never had a single question for a global technical expert? But the manager of CRCC did from one single email that I sent them. They had 5 pages of questions. So what you're actually seeing right now, everybody, is guess what? Shelley Muse benefits from the fraud of Cory Bushell and Trevor Allen. CRCC benefits from this fraud, even though they know they never investigated the sexual assault, never even called me. When you got a direct email, and I want to read this to you so that you don't think that it's just my words here. Right here. The Commission has carefully reviewed your recent correspondence dated August 14, 2024. Unfortunately, we cannot process your complaint for the following reason. It was initially not clear to us whether your complaint related to an incident within our jurisdiction. However, after a phone discussion with one of our intake officers, in which you expressed a desire to be contacted by the newly assigned public complaint investigator, the Commission contacted the RCMP's National Public Complaint Directorate to request that Sergeant Trevor Allen contact you. Your file has now been closed. So, my case was open with CRCC and these officers for 800 and some days. Right there, they're stating that we had these people reach out to RCMP to have them contact you. Paul, the manager from CRCC, knows that they didn't contact me and just closed the case. Yet Cory Bushell and Trevor Allen are saying they did some sort of thorough investigation. In their report, you don't see a single piece of evidence. You just see them continuously slandering and defaming me. And guess what suits Jessica Welke? That's right, slandering and defaming me. They called Jessica Welke to coach her, right? To tell her a complaint was coming and to make sure she knew that they would lie, cheat, and steal for her. You think about this. CSIS has accepted the case and everything. Of course they did. So here you have 2 officers covering up serious national security issues to protect dirty cops, right? Who threaten and attack children and disabled women. You think about who Cory Bushell and Trevor Allen really are to consider an investigation or a thorough investigation done when they never even investigated the violent sexual assault that was being reported. They lied about the audio recordings. They never replied with a single piece of evidence I stated. If it's so retarded, it's so disjointed, why not list it? How is it that Paul, the manager from CRCC, can have 5 questions, 5 pages of questions, but these RCMP investigators not have 1? How? You all have questions? I can win just asking them how my phone's GPS location got set to 9330 Highway number 7, Stillwater, Nova Scotia. I can win. But they don't have a question about that? What address, Scott? That's right. This is a bunch of dirty, filthy cops covering up for a bunch of dirty, filthy cops. They know Mike Duhem, Dennis Daly are implicated. CRCC now knows they're in a lot of trouble because they absolutely lied, cheat, and steal and allowed these officers to do this. What are they going to say to Cory Bushell, Trevor Allen? Oh, you're good little boys? You did a good job? They committed fraud, slandered, defamed me, never even contacted me, covered up a violent sexual assault. And where is Mike Duhem and Dennis Daly? Hiding behind this fraud and failure. They know they're implicated. These officers know they're implicated. Jessica Welke knows that. So she knows the more she lies, it tells them that she's more corrupt, so she will absolutely play the game to protect them failures. So what is Mike Duhem and Dennis Daly hiding behind? Not facts and evidence, not justice. They're hiding behind these dirty, filthy frauds. And nobody did that to these officers. They woke up and chose to be dirty people. Individually, they're not good people, and combined, they don't equal a half-decent person. It's the garbage, RCMP is the garbage collection service of Nova Scotia. And Mike Duhem, Dennis Daly need that trash to hide behind. It's trash piled on top of trash, and they need somebody to blame, and it certainly isn't them. So who are they going to blame? Me. Well, they coach these dirty cops. Now, I'm going to finish this up.
90222020213 n'est pas disponible. At the tone, please record your message. To leave a callback number, press 5. Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, everybody. Scott George again. This should be the final video. My phone number is 902-220-9106. All right. So what we were left off talking about was that these officers knew and were benefiting from this fraud back and forth. They were conditioning each other. Now they all benefit from it. So think about this. Tim Houston showed up the morning my mother died. If he comes forward and admits it, he's going to have to admit all these officers lied. So did Hannah Marie Weimer. So where is he? He was going to come forward that day. Then why hasn't he come forward? He's benefiting from this fraud from these officers. And Jessica Welke knows he's involved. So guess what? They can cover this all up. That's right, everybody. So if they come forward and admit what they did, what's going to happen? They automatically admit that the officers on August 2nd, 2022 falsely arrested me. Right? So, Tim Houston knows exactly what's going on. Mike Duhem knows, and they're benefiting from this fraud. And CRCC now knows they're liable. They obviously covered up a violent sexual assault. They obviously dropped the ball. Paul has had this evidence that actually completely refuted this. So he had it on the 10th. That completely refuted everything they said on the 6th when I received that letter. So he proactively had it. So I'm not just making all this up. It existed for years before this. But guess what? He now benefits from this fraud on March 13, 2023. They just all have to say, look, he was crazy. You asked them for a basic fact. Ask them for a single threat that was made. Ask them where I ever said I was going to Nova Scotia Health Authority. I went to HRP, had no issues. To CSIS, no issues. Nobody filed a complaint. But then Nova Scotia authority had me arrested and said, well, because you might have caused issues at those places. But I was there and didn't cause any issues. So your whole test case was completely false. She knew that. Hannah Marie Weimer knew what she was doing. But they all can rely on this, the vagueness in their responses. So guess what these officers did? Instead of investigating or contacting me, they can just say I'm retarded so they don't have to. Look, it's clearly that. You ask this bigot Brenda Smith to provide a single instance of any of those threats and then ask her about the evidence of abuse from Nova Scotia Health Authority, including a sexual assault being listed. Ask her why she didn't record that, because that doesn't fit her violent predatory delusions where she's a victim and hero. You ask the same questions of Hannah Marie Weimer. Why didn't she show me basic points of respect? If you want to argue about complexity, that's one thing, but I asked to have that recorded. I asked for a lawyer. I stated my bias. I stated my technical background. Those are objective things. Why aren't they in there? Because that doesn't support her violent delusional psychosis where she's a victim and hero. That's right. I'm the one facing this. Look at the consequences I faced. Well, these people sit back and say they're victims and heroes and can't even answer a basic question, but believe they should have authority to destroy lives and shouldn't be questioned. I am asking for criminal charges against Hannah Marie Weimer of fraud, dealing in fraudulent documents. I'm asking that she be registered as a sex offender. I'm asking to be registered, charged with perjury, criminal negligence, criminal assault. And I'm asking that CSIS and all other parties charge her with a minimum of 2 years every time that she lies and for obstruction. I'm asking that Cory Bushell be terminated with cause on his HR file, and I'm asking for a criminal investigation. You tell me how he doesn't see all of this evidence, doesn't know that not contacting me is an issue. 800 days and then just says, oops, we're outside of our mandated time frame. Admit it, never even called me or anything, and he covered up a violent sexual assault, and he's going to sit there and say that he's a victim and hero and there was nothing that he could have possibly done as an inspector? It is complete fraud. He absolutely, willfully, and intentionally and maliciously slandered and defamed me. I want him charged and registered as a sex offender. I want Sergeant Trevor Allen registered as a sex offender. Think about this. How could Trevor Allen ever have done a thorough investigation if he never contacted me? Never listed a single piece of evidence, never had a single question. The whole website exists, all these audio recordings, everybody. Literally, a global technical expert put a funnel in his throat. He did some sort of thorough investigation? No, he didn't. This is what systemic fraud looks like. Cory Bushell and Trevor Allen know now they lied for daddy, so now they can get jobs. It's to their benefit. That's right. It shows these other dirty cops, we will lie for you. And now look at Shelley, so I want criminal charges. So now you see Shelley Muse is absolutely benefiting from this and Kurt Wallace, and they're going to try to use this fabricated response from these corrupt officers. No contacts, no evidence of anything to try to support their view, even though I'd submitted detailed evidence to them, begged and pleaded they escalate this to Mike Duhem or Dennis Daly. Right? You can see the video evidence May 3rd, 2025, well before this response, right? And since they contacted Jessica, and this is going to be an important part, I need to call back.
Au signal, veuillez dicter votre message. Pour laisser un numéro de rappel, faites le 5.
Hi there, everybody. Final video from Scott Jors here. Again, my contact number is 902-220-9106. So, what we were discussing there last going off was that these parties basically knew that they were all lying and are now relying on each other to use these fraudulent records. They all know that they're lying. Cory Bushell, Jessica Welke. I want you to think about this. So these people contacted Jessica Welke, right? State that she's in the process of moving. Now, I had to drive my uncle to the hospital on the 27th of May. So I seen moving trucks there. They're right on the highway on the way to the hospital, so anybody would see it. So these people never called Jessica until 800 days later, and then never took any type of record or anything like that. But it tells you that Shelley Muse and Kurt Wallace also didn't contact Jessica Welke in those months, and they knew that these serious reports were made because they wanted these people to fraudulently make these corrupt records so they could say, we're victims. Why would Cory Bushell lie? Why would Trevor Allen lie? That's right, everybody, because they know they're a bunch of dirty cops. Of course they're going to fucking lie. Shelley Muse is lying. Kurt Wallace is lying, right? So think about this. Ask Tim Houston, right, how my phone's GPS location got there. Ask them, have they questioned Tim Houston about showing up the morning my mother died? No, they didn't, because they want to leave all of this out of the record so they can claim plausible deniability. I'm asking for criminal charges of fraud for Tim Houston, criminal assault, criminal negligence. I'm asking for charges. I'm asking for him to be registered as a sex offender. And, yeah, I'll accept absolutely nothing less than his immediate resignation and termination with cause on his HR file from the Conservative Party of Nova Scotia, or whomever you actually are. You guys want to allow that sex offender to run free? Then go ahead, but I'm not going to back down from this. So now you're going to have to help that dirty fucking man frame and blame me when you know all this evidence exists. You're going to help him cover up a violent sexual assault for him to further his own polarized personal and political ideologies. I'm asking that each individual, including Tim Houston, be charged, but I'm also asking for them to be registered as domestic terrorists. I'm asking that RCMP be registered as a domestic terrorist organization and a sex offending institution, whatever the fuck you might want to call that. I'm asking that these charges of domestic terrorism be extended to Jessica Welke, Chad Sanford, Cory Bushell, Shelley Muse. I'm asking that J.D. Irving be registered as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm asking that each member of any J.D. Irving family that knew about this be registered as a sex offender, and I'm asking for charges of domestic terrorism. That's right, you're going to tell me that they all didn't know this evidence existed? And didn't know what Nova Scotia Health Authority did and what RCMP did? Here's the best part, everybody. So, look at me contacting Brett Ruskin from CBC. Look at his response. You'll see that CBC has been on thread since 2021. They knew exactly that these officers were lying, so he was trying to elicit some sort of response so Brett Ruskin could pretend he's a victim and hero. CBC would have to answer to all of you, as with CTV, Post Media, why they didn't do anything as and how they've been on thread since 2021 and all this evidence exists. They would have to answer that. So they'd have to run stories against Brett Ruskin. They'd have to run stories against themselves. So what are they going to do? Double down and commit fraud and protect their daddies? Or are they going to admit what they did? That's right. Tim Houston's aware of that, and the police are aware of that, and they're using it as a message, a coordinated message up to where terrorism. And this is what coordinated obstruction looks like. This is a conspiracy, criminal conspiracy to defraud the people of Canada, but to commit serious hate crimes and violence and domestic terrorism against me and my family. Right? So, I absolutely am demanding a call back from RCMP. You want to have a senior member from RCMP contact me and explain this conduct, how these officers left out a violent sexual assault, have them explain these audio recordings and why these officers are lying, and most definitely have an answer for how Shelley Muse and Kurt Wallace are some sort of victims when they have a global technical expert putting a funnel in their throats and they can't even answer basic questions, can't even identify themselves because they're such frauds. Canada and Nova Scotia, I'm really sorry that you have to find out about this way, okay? But it's important that you do, and it's important that it happens in a detailed way. When you look at Shelley Muse and Kurt Wallace, don't have pity on them. They are dirty cops who will cover up a violent sexual assault, will frame you and your family. Corporal Atwell Muscadaubet Harbour will laugh in your face about a violent sexual assault and fabricate records. Jessica Welke will terrorize you and your families. These are not good people. They never were. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.